What I wanted to say was, hopefully what you're working out today is that control rooms come in many various shapes and sizes and complexities. But at the heart of it, what the International Critical Control Rooms Alliance says is they're the same but different. Okay, I've said that to a couple of you today. But it's true. You know, while Dave Jackson is dealing with arresting criminals, and Chris Carver in an earlier life was dealing with putting out fires, and people are keeping airplanes up in the sky and satellites and whatever it is Rosano does with large hadrons and stuff. You know, you've all got critical control rooms, and you've got a lot of things that are the same problems. I mean, look how much today we've been talking about the shape and the interaction and the communication and collaboration within these control rooms. You know, these aren't places you can just take for granted and throw them into place and hope they work. And that's what we're about in ICRA. What ICRA is looking to do is to bring together as many of these critical control room people as we can under one roof and let them talk to each other. Now, if you're not part of that community, you may not realize how much fun you can have talking about shift systems. Oh, yes. Shift systems, you can get 2 or 3 people sat in a room together, and they'll go on and on and on until you decide to break them up, talking about shift systems, and then they'll go on to air conditioning units. All right, it's very, very fascinating to hear some of these guys talking to each other. But it's right to bring them together. And so we are proud to have members drawn from public safety and security, from CERN, from utilities, oil, gas, electric, water. We've got banks, we've got broadcasting companies. Who else have we got? Transportation, ports management. We've got all sorts of people who join ICRA. Now, I've put out some of these little very old-fashioned flyers around the back office and some of my card as well. If you want to join ICRA, it's free to end users. Why wouldn't you? It's free to end users. Just sign up and join the clan. It costs any commercial outfit because I've got to get my money from somewhere. But it's very modest. It's a very modest fee. But look, come and get involved. Okay, that's all I'm going to say for the time being. Same, but different. Now, what I want to do without further ado is to bring on CADwalk again, because I think, Kim, you know, this was partly your idea, this whole thing, getting me here today. So I'm very grateful for that, and you know, well done for your insight and your foresight in bringing this control room summit together.
Actually, so
and there's your little thingy just there. Look.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely true. So we had a sort of a test session in September back in Munich, and so that was the base for this event, and I'm very proud to be part of the sort of the early birth, basically, which was fantastic. And I learned a lot today already, and I think next year we will hopefully see double or triple the numbers, actually. But as I said before already in my quick introduction, born in Cologne, so for people who pick a German accent, that's absolutely true. But I'm very pleased to call Australia home since 30 years. And I think I want to make my speech today about what we do in Australia and maybe give you some insights, what's happening over there, what's maybe not happening over here. And how can we bring it over here? You heard Thierry's speech. We are very pleased to work with Thierry and Mark on helping them to design their new vision for the new control rooms. And we are very blessed to bring some input from Australia into this, actually. So Australia, so not only about snakes and spiders. So every time when I come to Germany, people ask me, are the snakes really dangerous, the spiders? So I live there since 30 years, and I think I have seen one snake. So that means I invite you all to come to Australia. It's a beautiful country, actually. You don't get bitten. So we, of course, people know us more from a tourism side of things, but because we have a lot of, resource industry, so that means oil and gas, mining. So therefore, there is a lot of money basically has been spent over the last 20 or 30 years to refine remote operations. And more recently, we are looking into AI, so artificial intelligence, but also remote maintenance. So that means in very hazardous places. So that means our new Australian spider looks a bit more like that. And it's a crawler, so it can go basically, it was designed for the oil and gas field, basically, and it can go basically to any space. So I'll give you a bit of a geography for people who are not familiar with that. We are not in Germany, so I didn't compare it with the Netherlands today, but we are 22 times bigger than Australia. but we have a quarter of the population, so around 25 million people in the moment. So therefore, remote access and remote operation is quite important to us. So the history, so we have a massive history basically in exploration, oil and gas and mining, of course. So some of the projects we are doing are worldwide, may be recognized as the biggest infrastructure project in the world. So like here we put, not me personally, don't get this wrong, but we did run a 900-kilometer gas pipeline basically offshore to onshore, and that was financially the biggest, I think for 1 year, the biggest financial project globally. The world's largest robot drives basically, it can be 2 or 3 kilometers long, autonomous. So we have 416-ton autonomous trucks. So, and I think I was told that in 5 years, all these trucks are absolutely autonomous. The biggest problem with these trucks is that the autonomy is already integrated for quite a while, but these things stop or used to stop exactly at the same point. So some artificial intelligence had to be invented so that they move basically 1 or 2 meters because they caused a lot of damage when they were constantly stopping at exactly the right spot basically. So AI, again, is a very important part for us in Australia. 5,000 kilometers of autonomous drilling is quite normal. So we use drones, we use every technology you can imagine basically over there, because traveling and staying in areas like this is a quite expensive exercise. So, but what we see, the trend we see over the last maybe 5 to 10 years was that consolidating command and control centers back into the cities, and taking them out of the very remote areas, basically, because there was a lot of restraint on human factors. So that means we have normally people who work in these areas have around 2 weeks on, 12-hour shifts, and 1 week off. And so now it's basically has been really investigated on the human factor side that is not very healthy for yourself or for your family, actually. So hence the push to remote operation. So what's next, basically? I think we've got maybe one of the world's most advanced remote operation centers. So, but what's next, basically? Constantly, I think we are pushing the limits, basically, over there. And in the moment, we see that we try to get away from desks, for example, in the moment, because most of the tasks operators perform nowadays are more monitoring. So it's not really controlling as such. So that means we see that maybe 90-95% of the work is being monitoring. So therefore, we are working on concepts now to put an operator more in like what we call a Captain Kirk chair scenario. And so that means, but if he needs it, basically, he can be surrounded from experts. So, and another task which is becoming very popular is to extend basically the remote operation centers, command and control rooms, into remote maintenance centers. So this sometimes happens in the same room or most of the time basically in an associated room. And so that means for a technician to fly out on a remote site could be 2 days to fix a 5-minute problem basically. So I'll share a little video with you from a university where we are experimenting basically in the moment with certain technologies. Oh, that was too far. Can you play this for me, please? So Peter asked me to speak a bit faster today, so I'm trying my best actually. So, yeah. Oh. It's not working? There we go. So that means this person can be a normal man, like an electrician or something like this. It doesn't have to be an expert anymore. The big thing here is for people who understand a bit about VR and AR is that we introduce a 360-degree view, because even with the new HoloLens we have a very limited view of around 30 degrees. So this is of course in experimental stage, so that means universities are working on this currently, but it's quite soon, maybe within the next 3 or 6 months, a commercial product actually. I think you get the idea, so we stop this here. So, and of course we all know, so there's different factors, so you add now, I think the additional challenges which we even didn't put into our nice map here is AI, robotics, which are maybe keeping us busy for the next 5 to 10 years to integrate that into our control rooms. So, and I mean, you have hopefully a lot of you guys have visited us in CADwalk already. So what we are traditionally now doing is basically running what we call 3 months boost projects. So that means the larger clients come to us and want to set up a lab. So rather than spending millions of dollars, so we do an experimental tech lab. So the word tech lab has become quite a common name now. And then larger organizations evaluate after 3 months if it is worthwhile investing into this new technology, yes or no, basically. So we do this normally, of course, in CADwalk, so because it's the lowest risk environment, because we are dealing with a lot of oil and gas, like oil rigs, so you can't simply go there and test things out. So we try to simulate that basically in our CADwalk environment. We use VR visualization for human factors studies, basically. So that means we've done some projects basically where I think I was told today, I was wrong, it wasn't 50 operators, it was 110 operators, and we show the video in a minute. So every operator was consulted basically what the best monitor configuration for them is, so that they can still see the big overview screens. So this was a massive task, but Sydney Trains has taken that on, so that every of the over 100 plus operators has the optimal view to a large screen, basically. So, don't bore you with this, so we've gone through this already before. So being now Australian by passport, of course, I like to make a bit of advertising for Australia, not only to come for our spiders, but please come and visit us, and we make some visits possible for you to see some of, I think, very impressive remote operation centers. Very happy to, as well, a year ago, Australia announced to have their own space agency. And it is a fantastic, I think there are only 20 people strong in the moment, so it's by all means not an ESA or something like this, but I think we have a lot to offer. You may have seen that for, I think, one of the NASA missions, basically now Australia is being used to test their rovers, and that's been done in the Australian environment. And you may have heard this morning the speech from Fugro. That's exactly what they are gearing up for, and the Australian government is putting in money now to design a space operation center already, so for mining. So that means we try to be really advanced. So some of the remote operation center is like Roy Hill, for example. So they've got 50 operators controlling 2,000 kilometers away, basically, rail operation, truck operation, shipping, whatever you can imagine, basically, out of the comfort of a city. AV integrators, do we have AV integrators in the room as well? Okay, the left-hand side screen, the tallest screen in the southern hemisphere, I think they have 55-inch screen, and it's 10 megapixels, basically, with the own server room, basically, right? So that was an entry statement. So if you ever come to Perth, this is only 500 meters from the airport, actually. So Chevron, one of our key clients, basically, and this was something where we used CADwalk basically from start to finish, and we had at its peak basically around 50 operators there from Western Power to make decision on their future command and control center. And that is, I think, the trend we are seeing, that it's not the management making the decision. We would like that operators are making the decisions, because they work there for 12 hours a day, and normally 40 years, So we are more keen to talk to the operators than really with the management. So I finished my presentation off with this. Who is from the UK? Okay, I don't want to offend you. You hear some words in there. But I want to finish my presentation with this video we want to share. And we are quite proud as well. We have tonight an awards night. So we got awarded for this basically as, I think, one of 3 companies globally for this project, actually. So thanks for your attention. I finish this with this video.
Centre in the world, with technology said to surpass the NASA Mission Control Centre. The first 160 staff moved into the new Rail Operations Centre in Alexandria today, as the state government promises a smooth transition for commuters.
A bird's-eye view of Sydney Train Network's new Nerve Centre.
There isn't a rail operations centre in the world like this. I know we've just outsmarted, I believe, London, probably Tokyo and Singapore.
The numbers agree. 10,500 security cameras, a space equivalent to more than 141 tennis courts, and only 20 million over budget.
But due to some unexpected remediation, it's 296 million. Asbestos, a couple of tanks which were contaminated soils.
Here's a good salesman.
Transporting our rail network from old to new is the highest resolution LED screen in the Southern Hemisphere, bigger than its equivalent at NASA's Mission Control Centre.
Technology really is at the heart of this new control room. You can see on the digital screen behind me that each individual line can be accessed. The screen also shows weather maps, and with a single touch, staff can access security vision.
Unplanned events, be it weather-related, be it passenger-related, be it a train breakdown, this can now be completely coordinated in a very sensible way.
160 staff move in today with plans for a smooth transition, fully utilising the centre by early 2019.
We want to make sure this building goes well from day one.
Julie Snook, 9 News.
Well, it was the middle of 2019, but it was built and is in fully operation. So yes, thanks very much for your attention, and wish us good luck for tonight, actually. So.
Very good.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. They may have questions.
Sorry?
They may have questions, Kim.
Oh, okay, yes, please.
Oh yeah, anybody want questions? Come on, I got... Right, ready? Whee! All right, talking to the black bit. You need talking to the black bit on top.
Good. I don't know if I'm allowed to ask, but how much it cost this screen?
I can tell you this 4.5 million actually, so Australian dollars, so equivalent maybe, I think, maybe 3 million euros, but it's 32 meters wide basically, and it's the highest pitch. And for, again, you know, a bit of experience, we run this screen at around 5% of brightness. So that means the expected life cycle is around 20 years actually, so, yeah? So we had to reduce it enormously basically because it was simply too bright. Yeah?
So
Okay.
you wrote that figure down? That's very good. Anybody else? Oh, come on, man, I want to throw it right to the back. Okay, fine. It'll go down there for a minute. Look, I did notice the very small dig at London in there.
Sorry to do this to you.
I mean, I guess it's a fact that, you know, we in the old world have had these things for many, many years, whereas I think Sydney's only just got trains. Is that
Yeah,
basically
and I think
right?
you have some political problems in the moment to deal with as well. That doesn't help.
Kim, it's fantastic. Thank you very much, Kim.
Thank you so much, Peter.
All right, cheers, mate.
Thank you.
Good.